how long have you lived in Los Angeles again?
I've lived in Los Angeles since 2015, so coming up on 10 years.
Wow,
Yeah. So it's
incredible.
so interesting because when I say that, I'm like, gosh, 10 years sounds like such a long time, but it feels like there's so much about the city I don't know. As you know, it's just so spread out and I kind of stay in my neighborhood or the places that I'm familiar with. And I sometimes don't venture out beyond that very often unless there's a reason to.
Yeah, since I grew up in the Los Angeles area, I'm very familiar with the idea of not wanting to leave your bubble essentially because
Mhm.
if you're going from one side of LA to the other side of LA, that is a trip. You're not
Right.
just
Right.
going to Santa Monica from
Right.
Pasadena, like, you're taking a flight essentially from
Right.
North
Right.
Lagoon. You have to pack, you gotta make sure you got all of your goods, like, it's a whole thing.
It is, it is, and then you're just preparing for a standstill in traffic and, something where you can go 9 miles, just that's gonna take an hour, and that's just the reality of LA traffic.
Hi there, welcome to another episode of Sweat, Strategy, and Success. I'm your host, Soleil, and I have a deep desire to learn about the experiences of entrepreneurs and professionals in the health and wellness industry. As a marketer in the space for the last few years, I wanted to be able to learn about what these professionals were experiencing, the challenges that they were having, and how they would solve them. In these conversations, I like to learn about what drives these people, what their stories are, and be able to connect with them because I find it so important to build community. In today's episode, I talked with Miranda Boe. She is the owner and creator of the Breathing Room in Los Angeles, California. In this episode, she'll go more into depth about what the Breathing Room is, but essentially, it's a space that brings together a community to go deeper into yourself and find stillness through meditation and technology. We'll talk about what meditation is, how you can get involved in meditation, and the barriers that come with starting a meditation practice. We'll also talk about the challenges of being an entrepreneur in this space, along with hiring practices. This was the first time I talked to somebody about the difficulties of hiring. Miranda and I both agreed that hiring for small businesses and startups can be really challenging, especially when you don't know where to start. So I highly recommend this episode to people who are interested in meditation, wellness, finding stillness, and starting a business where you're having difficulty hiring. I really enjoyed this episode, and I really appreciate Miranda taking the time to talk with me and share her stories so we can continue to build community. Thank you again. Make sure to like, save, and subscribe if you like this, and let's get started. At this moment in your life, what are you trying to accomplish?
Sure. It's such a good question, and it's such a thoughtful question, so I so appreciate you asking it because it had me think both of, myself as venturing into a new business and as a professional, but also personally. So I'm really with all 3 worlds combined trying to create a a safe space for myself and others. I'm trying to create a community that I want to belong to that is about real connection and deep connections. I'm trying to create a business that gives. I'm trying to campaign or bring awareness to the benefits of some of these practices that I truly believe in the power behind for healing and transformation that have been around for centuries, like meditation and breath work and sound therapy. And I'm also just trying to grow and expand the reach of the breathing room, which is a brand new baby.
That's amazing. That's incredible to hear. Tell me a little bit more about your history. What brought you to this moment?
Yeah, so my background is in psychology. I've been a practicing psychologist for over a decade. Um, I am still practicing today. And really, what my practice has been assessments, so diagnostic assessments. And a big part of that work is you're working with individuals, and I primarily work with kids and adolescents and young adults that are struggling in some way. And there's questions that need to be answered. And so we're trying to figure out what maybe some of the struggles are and how we can come up with a plan or strategies or treatments to help manage any vulnerabilities or symptoms. And so, a big part of what I have done in that testing field as a psychologist is to really think about how we can help people and what we have for resources in the mental health space of being able to help people transform and change their lives in significant ways. And one of the things that I always have recommended and have always kind of promoted has been the idea of mindfulness and meditation, because no matter what I have found diagnostically, it is an evidence based recommendation and tool. And so it has been something that over the years, personally, I have been well aware and I have all the knowledge to know how beneficial it is and how much it can help. And I have for a long time so badly wanted to have my own practice, my own meditation practice, that I was able to see everything that I would read about or the people that I came and met with that would share about their practice and they could talk about their benefits. And I would be like, I want that. I want that. And I just couldn't get there for the longest time. I would maybe start something and then I just didn't know how to prioritize it, or I just wasn't sure if I was seeing the benefits. And, I thought, oh, I'm too busy, I'm too distracted, and all of the things that a lot of people say. And there's millions of people that feel this way. And so that kind of led to me sticking with it and exploring all these different ways that I could try to find a meditation or a methodology that really worked for me. I finally got there and I really realized the benefits of for myself, that without a doubt I am my best self when I'm consistent with my practice. Today, when I started, and I know it's going to be true for me in the future, so it's just something that needs to be a significant part of my life. And so I guess long story short, that when I started to think about my life and kind of getting to a place of feeling a little bit burnt out in my psychology career, and thinking about my life and sort of dreaming big of what would I want it to look like? What do I want it to feel like? What are the components that I want to have in my daily practices, and just sort of dreaming about if I were to design my life. And I knew that meditation was going to be a big part of that, because when I am in that space, I never want to leave it. When I'm in that internal space and when I'm connected, and it has changed the relationship that I have with myself and just my overall well being. So I knew that needed to be a big part of it. I also wanted to blend my mental health background and think about how can we help more people with this practice of meditation, or what some of these practices are, and help them from a mental health perspective. So here we are with the breathing room, which really is kind of bridging that gap between mental health and mental health space and the wellness space, and sharing some of those resources.
Well, that's an incredible story. I know meditation has helped a lot of people over a long time, over
Yes,
history.
sir.
This isn't a new practice, but I think it should be a more widely practiced practice, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, apps
Yeah.
come out nowadays like Calm or Headspace that are encouraging people to increase their meditation practice. Now, for somebody who may be completely new to the space, doesn't know what meditation is, what mindfulness is, can you talk to them about what it is and how it can support their mental health?
It's a great question. I really think about meditation as sort of being the method to this state of stillness that we're really all kind of seeking. Another way to look at that, or to maybe name it, would be a sense of calm, a sense of inner peace, a sense of knowing, a sense of well being, a sense of connection with yourself and the world around you. And I think meditation is the method that we use to get there. In essence, it's a lot about quieting the mind to some degree, where you're slowing it down into that space of stillness, where you can detach from your thoughts and recognize that we're not just our thoughts, and that in that thinking space can be a really hard space to live in. And there's so much more to going within, but we kind of describe it as there's a home within, a sense of home, a sense of safety, a sense of well-being that is the goal, I think, for a lot of people. All that to say, it is a method where we can tap into a sense of wellness and well-being that we all have within, but we often lose it or lose sight of it because we are so attached and connected to our thinking.
Mm, I think you said that perfectly. I am one of those people who is always in my head. For me personally, I think my meditation and my mindfulness journey started when I was young, actually, because I am just an overthinker, and I think that's just inherent, unfortunately, to me,
Yeah.
unfortunately, to who I am. And my journey actually probably started when I was really young. When I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, I loved to make lists. I would jot everything down, what I needed to do in the day, where I wanted things to be. And I think that was a way unknowingly for my very small brain to attach onto this stillness or this understanding of, okay, I want to take these thoughts in my brain and I want to calm them and I want to find order in them. And so I think when I was little, that was a way for me to kind of get started in a way. My actual understanding of mindfulness and meditation maybe came when I was 19 or 20 years old. I I have dealt with bad anxiety almost my entire life. And I think it's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method where you point out like 5 things that you see, 4 things that you hear,
Yeah.
etc. That was like my actual like I am purposefully and intentionally practicing mindfulness on, my walk home or something like that. And so I think that we kind of all have this introduction into mindfulness and meditation that we may not know about. And when you start to understand and have the concept of it in your head, you can actually intentionally practice the meditation or mindfulness.
And I was gonna say just like that, those practices that you name, it's a practice. And I think sometimes when we think about it like that, it is such a practice that we need to do repetitively and consistently because it helps us to connect more with our body and our senses. And by doing so, we start to quiet the mind a little bit, or we start to detach from the mind. And that's all about being in mindful and in the present moment because we're not attaching to these thoughts that can take us anywhere and not always the pleasant places that we want to be going to. Our thoughts can be torturous. And so when we kind of really connect with our body, our senses, we can start to form and, kind of detach from our thoughts, which is so, so powerful. Because when we can do that, we're connecting so much stronger to an intuition or a much more wise knowing direction, like that idea of like your gut knows, or listen to what your heart or your gut tells you. There's meaning in that. And it's really hard to detach from our mind and our thoughts. And meditation is just that practice to help get stronger with that.
Hmm. As a psychologist and a practicer of meditation and mindfulness, do you ever look at the general public and think to yourself, "Man, people need to start practicing more." Like, I'm sick of this. I'm tired of this. Go sit down for 10 minutes. Take a break. Do you ever
Yeah.
think that more people should practice mindfulness and meditation?
Oh, I do. I'm just such a believer of it. And I want to campaign behind it so much because I've seen it transform so many people. I know what it has done for me. I know how I can be thinking or being in a space that I'm dealing with something. I'm dealing with a thought or an emotion. And I can see how that drastically changes when I intervene, either with my breath or that moment of stillness where I am giving myself that. I am so much more equipped to manage my emotions. I feel much more resilient and powerful. And that what I thought before I kind of intervened was such a significant thing or so problematic. And then you just kind of put it all in a much bigger perspective. And that feels really good. It feels really good that we can have those tools within. And so I think in a time where so many people are struggling and so many people just want to be feeling better and they don't know how. And when we think about what's available for kind of mental health support, it's really going down that professional route. And that can be a big step for a lot of people to think, I know I'm not feeling good. I know I want to be feeling better, but am I in that space that I'm ready to reach out for professional help? And that may be therapy, that may be consulting with your doctor, and that can be a lot, and it can be met with a lot of defeat too if you don't get the help that you need. So if you're at that space where you're like, I need something, and you're reaching out and you're finding out it may be a 6 month wait to get in with a therapist, or you have met with people and then your insurance doesn't cover it, or it's just not a good fit and you're waiting again, or you just don't have access or the resources to go down that path. There is something that we can all do and that I truly believe we can all benefit from. It is something that when we look at some of those modalities like meditation and breath work and sound healing and all of these things, it is universal and it is ancient. So throughout time, throughout history, throughout all people, this is something that has been healing and helping people for centuries. And so in today's age, I really want to be looking at that both from a mental health perspective to say, hey, we are lacking the resources. Why are we not putting more into guiding people down a path that could potentially make a huge difference for them?
Hmm. I want to dive into that a little bit deeper just for a moment. Say I was somebody who felt like I was constantly being bombarded by my thoughts, or I'm feeling anxious or depressed, or I'm constantly going every single day. What would be some steps you would tell them to start a mindfulness practice? How would they do that?
Yeah, I think that there's not anything that exists as far as a mindfulness practice. I think it starts a little bit with the education around it. I think where sometimes why things like apps, a lot of people haven't been able to stick to is because they don't understand how it works or they don't understand what it should feel like. So I think a lot of people think like, okay, I'm feeling anxious or I'm struggling, meditation is going to be this answer. And I'm all of a sudden going to feel like I'm in this state of nirvana or I have no problems or the world just, everything just disappears. And that's not realistic. It's not the reality for most people that go in on a meditation practice. So then I think what happens is people are committing this time and it's a discipline and it's an exercise because especially when you're starting out, it's very normal and part of the process to feel resistance. We're uncomfortable with slowing down. We're uncomfortable of not being in like that fight or flight response and just go, 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 agenda, agenda. So when we're kind of forced to do something different, it feels uncomfortable. And so then people's perception of that or understanding of that is like, oh, it doesn't work for me. I hated it. I don't like when I sit there, I get antsy or I can't focus or whatever comes up. So I think that there needs to be support around that and that education piece and helping people understand what to truly expect. You're going to feel resistance. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You're probably going to feel impatient and antsy because it doesn't come necessarily with immediate results. The more you practice, the more consistent you then tap in and you can just do a little bit of conscious breathing and you can be in a different space very, very quickly. But for someone starting off, they're like, I don't get all this.
Right.
So I think that education, the psychoeducation around it is essential and important. And then I also think, and where the breathing room is, it's about creating that safe space because we have to feel safe to kind of allow our minds to relax a little bit or to face what maybe comes up. For some people that are feeling very anxious, the minute they slow down, the anxiety is what they're being faced with. It's what's right there. And so we get into these habits where we're like, no, 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 I don't want to feel it, suppress it, suppress it. And before you know it, you're kind of have this internal baseline of running very anxious. And that's kind of your state of being. And so with meditation, it is, having that education and understanding what the process looks like, making sure that you feel safe and that you're in a safe space or you have support around you that I want to do this and I want to heal and I want to, be able to meet and greet my inner self and everything that I've been scared of or that I've been suppressing. And I think what you find is that you just kind of move through it. So things can come up and you can process in different ways, and it's leading you towards some real transformation and real inner peace. And that's what we're all looking for. So, all that to say, kind of going back in the beginning, where do you start? So, learning a little bit about the process. And I think breath is something that you always have, and it is an anchor that you can always latch onto anytime that you need it. So making that relationship and that connection to your breath is it's so incredibly valuable. I know for me, when people would talk about, or if you do struggle with anxiety, you realize that your breath is often very shallow and it gets hard to manage. So anytime we start to pay attention to our breath, it can almost make you feel more anxious, and trying to control the breath can almost make you feel more anxious. So until you get to that space, you really just want to build that connection, that relationship with your breath, which may just be listening to your breath. Just listening to yourself breathe is can be a really beautiful thing. Um, when you're and then over time you start to understand the power of your breath and how it can really be an intervention for so many emotions and so many things that you're going through. With meditation, I think apps are wonderful. I think people can have access to trying things that maybe work for them. For some people, having a guided meditation is really helpful. For others, that feels stressful because they feel like they can't keep up or they can't pay attention to it. And so I think it's just experimenting and seeing what you respond to and having that awareness too of being able to do kind of your own integration after, like, okay, I did 10 minutes, how do I feel, and recognizing, do I feel any different, do I feel a little bit better, and starting to manage that. So it's okay to start really small, even having a minute a day, even the first 3 minutes when you wake up, just doing 3 minutes of 3 deep breaths can be a start to something. So it to expect people to just say, I'm going to have a meditation practice or I'm going to get into meditation and have it be an overnight thing. Again, may happen for some people. It wasn't my process. And so I understand the struggle. I really, really do. And I'm so thankful that I have my practice because now today I don't know what I would do without it. So I think the more opportunities, the more access, the more tools that we can use to help people find what works for them can be just a game changer.
Mm. Thank you so much for talking about how other people can start getting involved with it because I know it's hard to get started, especially when you may be afraid of your thoughts
Yes, yes.
and sitting and being mindful is letting those thoughts just be,
Mhm.
not taking any care to them, just letting them pass by. And you said this word a little bit earlier, surrendering to them essentially. So thank you for saying that. I think a lot of people can find help in that. And so you notice this need for people to practice meditation and mindfulness, and you started the breathing room. Can you tell me a little bit more about what the breathing room is? You've mentioned it here and there so far in the podcast, but I would love to hear more about it.
Yeah. The breathing room, if you haven't experienced it. Probably on the outside looking in or in the simplest form, people think of it as a meditation studio. And it's so much more than a meditation studio. It is so much of all the things that we kind of already talked about, where it's a space where people feel safe and people can come in with the intention of, I can be vulnerable in this space and I feel supported, welcomed, and understood to go on a personal journey. So all the things that we kind of talked about too, where it can be really hard to know, okay, I hear I should meditate. What do I do? I have this app, but unless we're talking about some of the education and the support around it and the personalization, you can just kind of fumble through and like so many people, they just then believe it doesn't work for them or they tried it and it just they don't get it. And so what we are is we're really about providing that space and the support to help people be able to go on a journey of transformation, a place to heal, a place to grow, a place to go and develop what it means to them for a wellness practice or journey. And we combine the sort of these ancient, tried and true practices like meditation in a variety of different forms and breath work in a variety of different forms and sound healing. And we use vibration and we use technology. And so we're kind of combining these worlds of these ancient practices with modern technology to make it easier and more accessible and to really make things more effective as well because we have tools that are science backed and really rooted in understanding the nervous system and how that plays a role in our emotional and mental well-being. And so using everything that we have to help people go within and connect with their inner resources and to hopefully be, living and feeling better. It's really kind of looking at wellness too and understanding there's so much out there for wellness that we all know about. We all know a little bit about physical fitness, and there's yoga studios and gyms on every corner. And we're all knowing there's things like our meal plans and resources available to help us care for nutrition or to eat healthy and take care of our bodies. And there's spas and skincare and things that we can do for self-care. But for me, at the center of it all is our emotional and mental health. And where are these resources? Where do we look? They should be on every corner. Everyone needs them. And it's just not. And so this is where I really believe at the breathing room is a space where you can prioritize this. It is the center of everything. And if we get you feeling good or we're get you feeling inspired, or healthier or more balanced or in that state of calm and stillness, then everything else kind of follows suit in a really positive way as well. You leave feeling more inspired to, you know what, I feel good. I'm going to go for a walk today. I have more resources. I can come and devote more time to spend with my family where I'm playing with the kids and I'm out walking the dog because I have more resources within to do all this. So it's that space where you can come and you go on that personal journey and you're supported and have all the tools and resources to help make this as easy as we can and as effective as we can so that you can be successful in that journey of connecting with yourself and having access to all the resources you have within.
Wow, well, that just sounds like a lovely, lovely space. Based on what you know about your clients, at their heart, what is it that they want to get out of the breathing room?
I think it's interesting where I hear so many people say it feels like home. And I'm so proud of that, or I feel so honored to have people say that they feel that level of safety and comfort and support and this deeper level of connecting. It is a place where we truly are growing such a loving community where you're walking out and you've done a session or you've done a class, whatever it is, and everyone's sharing their experience, like, of how they're changing or being able to have these rich conversations that are like, I'm becoming my best self, or I would have been so much different a month ago before I started coming to the breathing room. I would have reacted, or this would have made me so angry. And I'm feeling the change and I'm becoming more of who I want to be. And they feel really connected. Me too. It is a community that I feel very connected to everyone that comes in through the door. And I feel when I walk in the doors, how I feel being in there and how it resets me and it reminds me of kind of what life is all about and how I want to live my life and how I want it to feel. And how I go about doing that. It's something we all have to learn how to manage our mental and emotional health and do the work to be our best selves. And so we're providing that community and that support and the tools to be able to do that. And so I think the people that are there regularly and that come all the time, they will say it's home. They're like, it's my second home, or it feels like home. And I love who I'm becoming. I love what this is doing for me. So I'm firsthand see so much and feel so honored to be part of these conversations that I think are necessary. And, we talk so much on things that we might see on social media or TikTok or reality TV. And there's so many conversations that are just fun and don't have a ton of meaning. And I think that there's a lot of people that would love to have more engagement and more meaning and more understanding in some of these things that we all experience and we're all trying to understand and we're all trying to navigate, but where do you go for that? And, especially at a time where we're all so overworked and we're working all the time. And a lot of us, we're not in a space that at work that we're having these conversations with coworkers, or it doesn't feel safe. And at home, you're wearing another hat. And, so it's so much more than just a meditation studio, although we have so many ways that we do it there. And really trying to make different ways resonate with people so that they can really start to experience the benefit.
That's incredible. You said something earlier that just popped into my head while you're talking about this. I can tell you're so passionate about the work that you do at the breathing room. And earlier you said, if I were to design my life, this is what I would do. And it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you're there. You've designed this life that you want to live. Would you recommend this to other people to sit down and to say that if
Yeah.
I were to design my life, what would it look like?
Yeah, I think it's so powerful and it's so authentic to be able to do that. I think when you allow yourself that freedom to really think big or to use your imagination of what just feels good. And if there were no limitations and you didn't have these limiting beliefs about yourself, what would you come up with? What would your world look like? What would your life look like? And so I think it's a powerful practice for so many people. And I think a lot of us feel very trapped and very stuck in how we're living our lives because we have felt like this is what I should be doing, or this just makes the most sense, or I don't think I have any room to do anything differently. And so I think there's a real freedom in being able to look at that and to connect with your heart center and really feel and listen to what your heart wants. And I think it may start off with like, okay, this imaginary plan, but over time, it may just mold into something that actually makes sense and is doable. And so I do encourage people to do it. I think it's a very authentic exercise and connecting with your heart and a trueness and a realness of how you want your life to be.
Hmm. That's incredible. I think that's as a practice of sitting down and imagining your future self without being attached to that future
Mhm.
self is very powerful. Going back to the breathing room, what were the initial challenges of starting the breathing room?
Oh gosh. There were quite a few. One of the things that I think is kind of still a challenge today is that this is new concept and doesn't exist as far as I know, this concept or idea anywhere else. So it's really hard to find the right messaging to really kind of articulately describe what it is because like, as we talked about it, I can't just say it's just a meditation studio because it feels so much more than that. And when looking at how to build a business and how to bring this to fruition, I didn't necessarily have a model or a template to look at to kind of build off of what has already been done. So it definitely felt very scary and was met with quite a few challenges in just even the beginning of trying to find people that could understand the mission or the vision and then be able to be kind of like a think partner in things. So even like when it came to like the first stab at trying to develop the website, it was like, well, if the website developer doesn't totally get it, this is going to be a hard project to do together. And then even from you spend so much time on doing things like your business plan and your projections and who your client is and all of these things that you think like, okay, here is going to be my framework of how we get this going. And finding out, wow, things are really different than what you created or what you'd put down on paper. So I think there was, of course, surprises along the way and pivots, and I had to go back to what the mission and the vision was and not be listening to how this needs to adapt to something that already exists or how this needs
Right.
to be more like something that people are familiar with and just trying to not, have that those fears step in of like, am I doing this wrong? And should I be more like this is just I'm kind of out here rogue doing something that I don't know if am I doing this right? And so I had to take some time off to just get quiet with myself and go back to my original vision board from 3 years ago and my original journal of when this all came to be and kind of relook at that and work on quieting some of the voices around me that were like, this is what we need to do from a business perspective, or this is how we need to mold this to have it make sense to more people. So yeah, a lot of challenges in just where you're thinking and planning and you think everybody's going to get it and it's we're just going to launch and we're a business and it's all going to go according to plan. And that's not how it works.
Yeah, I can tell you that you're definitely not alone.
Yeah.
Every entrepreneur I've ever met says the same thing. It is just hurdle after hurdle after hurdle,
Yes.
but it's so worth it for so many entrepreneurs because they're following their passion.
Yeah.
It's their dream job. It's their dream to help people in the way that they're helping people. And it seems like that's what you're doing at the breathing room also. Do you feel like you've overcome some of these hurdles so far?
Definitely. I feel like I have learned so much and I'm so proud of that as well because I really went into this not knowing much about business and not knowing how to do this. I'm so proud of some of the mistakes that I've made because what I've learned from it. Um, and I I kind of went into it a little cavalier thinking like, well, how much is there to really learn? I mean, I have the plan here. I know what we're going to
Yeah.
do. Like it's, what all do I need to learn? And then I realized I have so much to learn and I feel like I have learned so much. So I'm like, gosh, I kind of know a lot, but then I'm like, or is that another kind of cavalier attitude where I'm like, oh, I have so far to go? I don't know, but I know I'm learning something every day. I have had to learn how to trust. myself a little bit more. And then again, to kind of tap back into the gut feeling and not be carried away with some of the thoughts that come up that are fear-based. And also with who there's been a lot of people that have wanted to somehow get in and have a role in one way or another. And initially, I was very trusting and I thought, gosh, people are so helpful or want to help. And realizing that, no, you have to kind of have a business mindset too. I felt like a little bit like, oh, I could be maybe taken advantage of, or I could be sold something that I don't necessarily need, or told that you need to do this that I didn't really need to do. And so it has been a little bit about trusting the people that I really feel care and are in my corner and we're aligned and we share the same values versus someone that may come in and feel like, okay, they're a savvy business person and they may have some great advice, but I'm better off kind of staying in that space where I'm involved and developing and continuing to create because I'm aligned with my values and I'm aligned with my heart in this.
Mm. Yeah, I think hiring is such a big problem,
We're
especially for small businesses. Maybe
really
big problem isn't the exact verbiage I should be using here, but one of the biggest challenges of running a small business, because like you said, there's so many people who are telling you, I can do this, I can do this, I can, if you give me this amount of money, I can do this for you. How did you learn how to hire people that would continue to strengthen your mission?
It's been yeah, that's been a process. It's so interesting that you say that because I found myself saying, in another conversation that that has actually been one of the more difficult things with running a business and having a business is that hiring process and making sure you have people that you can trust. And so I always give a lot of grace because I think that there is a space where people can learn and people can grow. And this is where I feel like I've learned a lot about myself as a businesswoman of where I needed to get stronger about my expectations, boundaries, standards, and really aligning with our values and making sure everybody is on board with that. So it's I think, an important part of running a business that is made, is explicitly clear about the values. And I think, y- people come in with a different skill sets, right? And different strengths. And above all, it's about the feeling and the experience that one can provide. So I have people that I think are fantastic that don't know much about meditation or don't have a significant background. But since they've been working with us, they are, have found their practice and are committed and are getting high on our supply. So I love seeing. And so they're going on the journey with some of the clients as well, where they're like, oh, I just did this meditation track. Have you done it yet? And they're, having conversations. And it's like, wow, we're all in this together. So there's certain things that I have found to be of higher importance than, maybe the knowledge that they come in with, because that is where I can always train and through experience and through an understanding community, we are getting there together and we're all, in the same boat. We're all doing this. And I think where I have seen that when it becomes just a job and something where you don't care as much, which I know is hard because nobody is going to care as much as I do, and I
Mm.
recognize that it's not lost on me that that everyone loves it the same way that I do or cares so much and cares so deeply. But it's important to me that there is a true motivation in caring for what we're doing and what our mission and vision is, like you said. I love when we have people that are also wanting to grow within this space or this field to some degree that are seeking their own kind of advanced training or additional certifications to see what more can they bring. I love having the conversations around, different employees feeling like this could maybe be my little niche. What do you think? And then how can we work together to grow them in a certain area where they, are really strong about something. When I first opened the doors, I was looking at where are some of where I feel like I have blind spots. So I was looking, for instance, I wanted some people obviously that had some understanding of meditation and belief in this practice and that sort of thing. And so, being able to find people that kind of fit that category, being able to find people that maybe had a little bit of a business background or understanding of how to grow a business. I wanted someone on the team that was kind of in that bucket. I wanted somebody in the team that is good with understanding community and how to grow community or partnerships or outreach, and wanted somebody in that bucket. So I started to think about this is a team. It's not just employees that are just greeting, the client as they come in and having conversations and checking them out. It's about who we are as a team and how we can all bring in our own skill sets and our strengths to, you know, uh, do a common goal of being able to grow and expand the breathing room and offer a service that clients are really responding to.
At the breathing room, how do you stay cutting edge and innovative while also staying true to your mission?
It's a balance, right? Like everything, it is a balance. At the core of everything, it really is about the mission and our values, and that there is this foundation of what we believe in, and we believe in understanding and nourishing and nurturing the nervous system, and we believe in the power of these healing modalities that have been around for centuries and have been effective for millions and millions of people throughout time, which are our practices like our meditation and sound baths and breath work and all the things that we use with vibration and breath and affirmations and just kind of all these things that we have and that we practice, but at the same time, using and bringing in the benefits that technology can offer is something that I want to make sure that we always explore and that we're always thinking about the client and what can be helpful to our clients as we're learning more about our clients,
Yeah.
and making sure that anything that we bring in is at the core because we believe that there is a benefit or we believe that that this will help people. So I don't want to be, I know we do talk a lot about that we do have cutting edge technology because we do, but I don't just want to always stay in that space or feel that I have to be in that space of always being cutting edge because I don't want to bring things in just to be trendy or to be in that space. It has to align at the end of the day with our values and our goals. And so it's been so wonderful kind of being in this space and starting something and being connected with what's coming out and what technology and how technology is growing in the mental health space and in the wellness space. And so I feel very fortunate to be able to be connected and introduced to a lot of different companies that are sharing kind of what's coming out or what their technology does and practices. So I'm learning so much and I'm so excited about some things that are, what people are doing in the tech space to again, kind of with that same mission of helping people to feel better in some way that is, in that kind of wellness space. So I love learning as much as I can learn. I love experimenting with, on my own and trying new things and continually trying to learn more and yeah, it's a balance. It's definitely a balance, but we know what we're always going to stick with. And then we always know that there is technology and tools that can certainly enhance and be very effective in what we do. So it is a little bit about modernizing and optimizing what we know to really be powerful.
Mm. I love how you said that you listen to your clients to make sure that the tools that you're bringing in is not only useful towards your mission, but also useful to them. How do you listen? What is it that you do to make sure that you're listening to the clients? Is this like person to person? You're chatting to them in person? Is this over the internet? How are you getting this feedback?
I'm at the studio so much, and I engage with as many people that will engage with me, and I feel very, very connected to um, a large number of our clients. If our client comes consistently, or not even consistently, if they've come a few times, chances are I've connected with them, and we've had some shared experiences, or we've shared kind of what works, or kind of what their goals are, what they're aiming for, and all that. So I do feel very connected, and I want to hear the feedback. Where initially, one of the things that we came right out of the gates with, or out of the door with, was that this is so personalized, and it needs to be accessible too, where, from my personal experience, if I felt like I need an intervention, I need to meditate, and you're looking at other meditation studios, and their next class is at 8 o'clock at night or whatever. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work. I can't go. So what does that mean? I'll have to wait till tomorrow. And so I wanted something that it's available for you when you need it. And that's why we have any minute of the day you can come in, and you can come in for 20 minutes, or you can stay for a couple hours. And we have people that do both. So I wanted something accessible and that can be totally personalized for anyone's individual needs. And that's where we use the technology to be able to do that, where we can customize and tailor, our services for individuals. And so I thought that was going to be how the majority of people would be using it, is kind of coming in and having that solitude, and having their sacred practice in a space where they have all these tools and they have all this support. And what I we have found out is that the community and the clients within each other and with us who work at the studio has been such a driving force, where you know hearing how much, like, when they do go to a class, the way the space is held afterwards for them to really integrate, to talk to the instructor practitioner and talk to others in the class, and to have those shared experiences, and they can relate with one another and that sort of thing, that I was like, oh my gosh, we need more classes. We
Mm,
have to bring more classes in. And then understanding what different things around the technology really worked. Like, okay, so now some of this technology, now we have to incorporate with classes too. And so there was just a lot that we kind of pivoted, or thought like, okay, this is where what we need to expand, and how can we make classes look different than classes that may also be in the LA area, knowing what we have for tools, knowing what our clients are asking for, and knowing what they love about the breathing room. How can we continue to maximize that and optimize that, so that what they're coming in and what they expect is always going to be of that highest standard, and that we have integrity of everything that we decide to do. But we definitely take in feedback. I was chatting with one of the clients the other day who's probably like 24, and she's like, I think it would be really neat to have more of a social event where we are almost like speed dating, where we all go into the domes and then we open up and we talk about what the experience was. And I was like, you
I
know
love
what?
that.
Why not? That's a great idea. And we can certainly fit that in. And so I get their ideas, and I get so many good ideas, and it's such an honor too when people come out and they're like, I was thinking about this when I was in there, and I wrote down these notes because this would be really cool, or have you thought about this? And so, the clients are really wanting to see the breathing room grow too, and the breathing room be successful. So they feel very invested because
Yeah.
it's important to them. And so together, we have just like a wealth of ideas and feedback and that we pay attention to it all. And there's a lot of good stuff there. So,
Ugh, I love that. Community is so important. So, so,
so
so, so important. And I think more people should be getting out into their community in the ways that they feel passionate about. I think that is so amazing and so cool. I want to start wrapping up this episode, but I have to ask you first if you could go back to when you first started the breathing room, what advice would you give to yourself?
to be patient, and that it is, it's a lot of work, but make sure you're involved in every aspect of it. So I now, where in the beginning I thought, "Oh my gosh, I can't focus on this. I have to focus on this," and it was managing what to focus on. And I was kind of pulled in a lot of different directions. And I wasn't prepared for that. But now today I can look at that and go, I'm so glad I was in there painting the walls. I'm so glad I was going down and trying to get the permits with the contractor to understand how that works for the build. I'm so glad that I've been involved with every interview of the employees that we've had and, so that I can really understand all the processes and to really help develop systems that make sense versus following a lot of templates out there. So our operations are, they have been edited several times, but it's because I'm seeing firsthand what's working and what hasn't been working versus things just not working and me not being aware of it. So I guess all that to say is that I would have prepared myself to go in at every little direction and kind of be, prepared for that and be patient with the process and trust that process that was going to be of such value that I learned so much that when I've been in there mopping the floors and somebody comes in, the way that they connect is different. And now I have, developed true friendships from some of the people that have come in and just seeing us, they're seeing me in a different place than maybe they would have thought initially. So you wear a lot of hats. And I thought I was just going to be, I knew I would be involved in a lot of different things, but I thought I would just kind of have my main
Mm,
hat that I'm trying to create this business. And I found that I was wearing all of them and I needed to.
mm.
I needed to for me because I, again, didn't know much about this when starting. So now I really value those experiences.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Miranda, for joining me today and sharing your
Uh,
story. I think this will be a very helpful episode for people who are getting into mindfulness or meditation, starting their own businesses. And I just very much appreciate you being here. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful and honored to be part of this. So thank you.
Yes, of course. If anybody who's listening is in the Los Angeles area and you want to get into some meditation or mindfulness, the breathing room is there for you. Remind me where the breathing room is in Los
It
Angeles.
is in Westwood.
Westwood.
Westwood, so
Beautiful.
very close to UCLA.
Ah, great. So any university students who need some mindfulness, there you go, which is very much needed in university. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, thank you so much, Miranda. I really appreciate it. And thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.